What is going on, hustlers? Welcome back to another video. Now, in this video, we are going to be discussing a very important topic based on the time of year, because as of the end of September, that is the end of the DLA's fiscal year, and every year, billions of dollars flood out the DLA in a spending spree right before their federal budget resets. And in this video, we're going to break down exactly why that is, and more importantly, how you guys as government contractors can position yourselves to take advantage over the next 30 days to capture those contracts and maximize your profits. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the video.
Today, we're going to be discussing 5 tips that you can do to take advantage of the end of the fiscal year. And these are going to just be action steps because a lot of times people watch content or they take seminars, whatever the case may be, and then they get no results from it because they don't do anything. They don't take any action. So literally, we're going to talk about 5. There's the yawn. There it is. We're going to talk about 5 different actions that you guys can take, and we're going to talk about the end of the fiscal year, and then we're going to talk about different like events and stuff like that. Basically, we're just going to talk about how you can take advantage of the fact that the government's spending a lot of money at this time of year. We're going to talk about their budget and all that good stuff, and then we're going to talk about some events, some networking things, some things that you guys can do to position yourself towards the beginning of the 2025 fiscal year, but then get yourself ready to have a lot of success for the 2025 calendar year. So what can you do in that 3-month window between October, November, December, and then take advantage of that to prioritize, your business and what standing you're going to be in with the government in the beginning of the calendar year. So I am going to hydrate with some actions that you guys can take to win the end of the fiscal year. And I want to do like a little bit of an outline, and let's kind of give some context, right? What does the end of the fiscal year even mean? So, big picture. Let's start macro and then work our way down. So, we know that we do business with the federal government, and then we know that DLA primarily is the military, and then there's people that DLA services outside of the military, like Health and Human Resources, Department of Education, Department of Transportation, the Space Force, all that good stuff, right? Now, we spend more on our defense budget than the next 10 countries do combined. So we spend a lot of money on our defense budget. But we also spend a lot of money on all the other aspects of our government, right? And every single year in November, the amount of money that gets allocated to each aspect of the government for the upcoming year gets posted. And how this budget works is government agencies have to spend at least 80% of the money that is allocated to them for that fiscal year, or else the following year their budget is going to be decreased. And the government, contrary to popular belief, is run by people. There's human beings on the other side of it, right? And those people, nobody ever wants to wake up and then be like, oh, I'm actually getting less money next year than I did this year and then the year prior. So it is their mission towards the last couple months of the year to spend as much money as they possibly can that has not already been allocated to different products, research projects, services, renovations, whatever you can think of. Anything that hasn't already been allocated that's left over and is sitting below that 80% threshold for that budget, government officials, they start scrambling like crazy to start giving out money. And I be very careful that you take note of the word that I use, giving out money. So I have an interview with Courtney Jackson. She's one of our Ignore to Award alumni. She's in the Skool community. She's great. She's super persistent, by the way. And you guys will get to see that. But Courtney's literally on like her 5th contract in under like 45 days, and then she's gotten 12 requests for evaluation just because she's pumping bids like you wouldn't believe. And she's been doing so for probably the last 2 months. But because she's been bidding on a whole bunch of stuff and just flooding her pipeline, the government is now like, okay, we're just going to start awarding contracts to you because we quite literally have to spend this money now before September 30th, 2024, or else we're going to get less money for the 2025 fiscal year. So we want to take advantage of the fact that the government is in a position now to throw money at different government contracting firms. And just to clarify, the fiscal year, like the spending year, the money year, the financial year ends September 30th, and then the government's calendar year ends the same time as everybody else, January or December 31st, and then begins January 1st. So that's the difference. So August and September are a great time to start submitting bids. Ideally, you want to start in July and August. Going forward, July and August are the months that you guys really want to be working. But even September, you can do some really, really hefty damage. So let's talk about a couple of the things that you can do. So we touched on this in a previous call recording, but setting your financial and bidding goals, specifically your government contracting goals as a whole, but we'll just make those two separate things. So figuring out, okay, how much money do I want to make in 6 months? I'm a 12-month guy. I like year-long outlook, but not everybody's that macro. So how much money do you want to make in 6 months? Okay. Then you break that down and you say, okay, how much money do I need to make month by month? One month at a time, break it down into bite-sized chunks and determine how much money do you need to make in the month of September just to get the ball rolling, right? Your first month, how much money do you need to make to hit your 6-month goal? Let's say you want to make 50 grand. So I'm running the numbers here. That's 8.3K. Let's just say $8,500. So you need to make $8,500 in the month of September to hit your 6-month goal of $50,000 in revenue. $8,500. I don't know about you guys, but that sounds a lot more manageable to me than $50,000. Then you need to determine how much time can you allocate to this over the course of the next 6 months. And because the fiscal year is kind of like a hotter time or high season to be submitting bids, maybe your time allocation for this is going to be more than it would be in December when you're going to have family coming and it's going to be the holidays and everything moves like molasses. So maybe in September, you determine, okay, I'm going to allocate 30 hours a week. 30 hours a week. There's 7 days a week. It's going to be 4.5 hours a day. 4.5 hours a day. That's the amount of time that you're going to allocate here in September. And then every other month, you're going to do 30. Maybe you want to add an extra 10 hours. Or what did I say? Did I just say 30? I'm a bit tired. Maybe it's 20 hours a week going forward. So then it's okay, $8,500 in revenue. And then we know we want to allocate, let's say 30 hours a week for the month of September. So now we need to determine how many bids do we need to submit. So we know that it's a 5 to 10% success rate for the amount of bids that we're going to submit. So if you submit 50 bids, you're going to win 2.5 to 5 bids. And if you can only allocate 40 hours or 30 hours a week, whatever it is, maybe you can only submit 50 bids because maybe you're a novice and you still have to take the time to conduct all your market research and you're not as familiar, you don't have a product market, and you're still pounding the pavement. You haven't found those commercial off-the-shelf items that you're super comfortable with. So you've determined, okay, I'm going to do 50 bids. So if you know you're going to do 50 bids and you're going to have a 5 to 10% success rate, that means you're going to be winning 2.5. So let's just say 2 to 5 bids. So if you're going to be winning 2 to 5 bids and your goal is to make $8,500, we know that we want to be bidding on stuff, the average contract size of about $4,000. About $4,000 is the number that we want because we want to be conservative and we want to base our revenue numbers off of the lowest possible projection, and then anything else that we get on top of that is gravy. So 4,000 to $4,500, meaning you only win 2 contracts for the month of September. There's your $8,500, and you're right on track, and that's 50 bids a week. Okay, so now we know we're allocating 4 hours a day, 50 bids a week, and we know we want to make $8,500 per month for to hit our financial goals. So the next action after we've determined our financial and our bidding goals is we want to pick 20 FSC codes, pick 20 federal supply class codes, guys. And I know 20 is a lot, but stick with me because you guys have definitely heard me say, oh, once you get down to it, you're going to be bidding on 3 to 5 FSC codes. That's what you're going to primarily be focusing on. That's going to be your niche. That's going to be your wheelhouse, which is absolutely true. It's correct. However, I also say it's not our job to self-reject, okay? We have to throw our name in the hat and then leave it up to the government to determine what they want to buy from us, at what price point, and at what price point and at what lead time and under what stipulations. So if we know that, wow, I just had a brain fart. If we know that 3 to 5 FSC codes is where, that's going to be our happy place, 20 FSC codes, the methodology behind it is you're going to start with 20, and about only half of the FSC codes that you request quotes for are going to be like nice people that are going to give you quotes, or are going to be industries where you can easily get quotes, or industries where you can get through to somebody on the other line. DLA buys about 5 million items. So 20 FSC codes, it's entirely probable that out of those 5 million items and those 20 FSC codes that you pick, you might be dealing with some companies that are super stingy and the barriers to entry are super high. 20 FSC codes, it's a wide enough range. You're casting out a wide enough fish net where you will be able to get a couple fish. You will be able to get some viable quotes that you can submit. And I do know that we have a special guest in here, my friend Augie, he's my editor, and he makes all of my thumbnails and my amazing shorts for YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that. And I just want to break down the acronyms for him. So FSC code is Federal Supply Class Code. It's just a 4-digit identifier for a set of products. So, like microphones, there's a 4-digit identifier for microphones. There's a 4-digit identifier for camera equipment. There is a 4-digit identifier for pens and office supplies. So we just want to pick 20 different 4-digit identifiers because it's going to allow us to be going after about 20 different FSC codes or product markets. So I just want to clarify that for Augustine and anybody else who's new. We get new people joining every day. So anybody else who's new and is unfamiliar. Okay, so we want to pick 20 FSC codes, and about 10 of those you're going to determine are just not viable, right? 10 of those, it's going to be the company's an asshole, the customer service is sucks, the lady at the front desk sucks, they're not going to want to give you quotes, or maybe they're bidding direct, maybe they're going to say no quote, or maybe it's only one company that's monopolized it. So half of those are just going to be dead, okay? Now, the third action that you can take. So the first one was we determined our goals. What are our numbers? The second one was we picked 20 different FSC codes, product markets. The third action that you can take, if you want to win something in September, if you want the government to give you tax dollars in September for some product, these are the numbers, okay? It's not sexy. It's not sexy. It's not nice, but these are the numbers. This is what it takes. You are going to have to submit 100 quotes. 100 requests for quotes, I should specify. So you're going to have to reach out to vendors for different solicitations, and you should be identifying at least 100 different solicitations that you're requesting quotes for. This can be done via email. This can be done via the phone. This can be done by logging on to their online portal, like creating an account and then adding it to your cart. Whatever the case may be, get it how you live. I don't care if it's 30, 30, and 40. I don't care if it's 97 and then 92 or 97 emails and then 2 phone calls and then 1 online quote. I don't care, but you got to get 100 quotes. That is what it takes. And the reason why it's 100 quotes is because 30% of the quotes that you get are going to be viable. And that number, it's the God's honest truth. I can't sugarcoat. I can't lie. That number will never change. That 30% viability rate is always going to be that. Jordan asked 100 quotes a day. No. It is possible. It can be done. We have done that at one point, but ideally we want to be doing like 100 requests for quotes a week, okay? And I want to clarify, this is 100 quotes. So you're requesting pricing and availability on 100 different items or 100 different contract opportunities, not submitting 100 bids, okay? requesting pricing and availability. So I want to clarify because people get overwhelmed. So we're not going to do that. But 100 requests for pricing and availability. And then we know that out of that 100, only about 30 of those are going to be viable. Maybe one week it's closer to 40, the next week it's closer to 20. But that number just is what it is. Even now, till this day, when I'm only dealing in new surplus, only 30% of the quotes that I request are viable quotes. And when I say viable, I mean the pricing, I get good pricing, I get a good lead time, and the traceability is good. And one thing I want to clarify, a little caveat is it's not our job to self-reject. So even if you feel like the pricing isn't competitive, you got to submit the bid because you invoke an opportunity cost every single time you spend time on the phone talking to Sherry from Amazon rather than talking to Michael from Home Depot. So I need as much time as you spend on one quote, it takes away from time that you could be spending on another quote. So when you do finally get a bid, or you do finally get a quote that you can submit as a bid, you have to submit it even if you don't think the pricing is competitive. But 100 a week. So if you're doing 7 a day, that is what? What is that? 10, so 15, so 70 plus 35. Yeah, 15 a day. You kidding me? If you can't send 15 emails a day and you say you want to be a millionaire, you're in the wrong business. Entrepreneurship isn't for you. Hang it up, quit. Because if you can't send 15 emails a day, or if you can't do 5 emails and then 5 phone calls and then five like adding things to your cart and then PDFing that and counting that as a quote, if you can't do 15 of those a day, you do not want it bad enough. You don't want to be an entrepreneur, you're a wantrepreneur. You want to be an entrepreneur, you like the idea of being an entrepreneur, but you don't actually like it. And for reference, there were days when I have literally requested over 80 quotes in one day, and I've submitted over 35 bids in one day. Just sheer volume. Okay. So it can be done. And I don't want anybody complaining saying, oh, it's not possible, or oh, I have kids. I'm running marathons, I'm flight training, I make YouTube videos, I have these coaching calls, I have calls with like individual clients, I have a girlfriend, like I maintain a relationship, right? I still go to the gym. Like I'm not skinny. I'm a marathon runner, but I'm sure as hell not a skinny twig. So if you want it bad enough, you will find a way. If you really want it, you will do whatever it takes and you will stop at nothing. If you half-ass want this shit, then you will stop at anything. If you half-ass want it and you have kids and then your kids get home and you're like, "Oh, I made dinner and now it's 9:30 and I'm tired," and you just want to sit on the couch and watch Netflix, you don't really want this bad enough, so don't text me, don't drop me a line in the Skool community saying, "Oh, it's not really working." If you really want this, you will find a way to submit 15 requests for quotes a day, okay? 7 days a week. Think about the fact that everybody works 5 days a week. And if you work 2 extra days a week over the course of a month, you will have almost doubled, or you will have almost a what is it, 30% increase in production, because the extra 2 days a month is 8 days. So that 8 days is a week and a half. So that's about 30% more output than everybody else, or actually it's closer to 40% because one week that first 5 days is 25%, and then half of that puts you at 12.5%, closer to like 15. So that puts you at 40%. You're going to have a 40% higher output per month, compounded over the course of a year. If you do 40% times 12, that's 480%. Okay. I've been doing this for 4 years and I work 7 days a week sometimes. So if you compile that over the course of 4 years, it's like 1,600%, 1,1600%. You will outperform your competition by working those 7 days a week. Okay. So let's talk about the next thing that you need to be doing after you've submitted those requests for quotes and then you've gotten quotes back. We want you to be submitting ideally. So I put on here, I used to tell people I used to tell people it needed to be 50 bids a week. That's what I used to say. Okay. But I'm going to drop it and go to 30 because for two reasons. The first of which being 100 bids a week, people just get intimidated by that. And I realize that that's not really what you need to do. That's not really what you need to do to win at that level when you're beginning. Does it help? Absolutely. But you can get away with doing it at a clip of 30 like submitted bids per week. You can get away with doing it at 30 submitted bids per week. So if you're doing 15 a day, Monday through Sunday, and 30% of them are viable, there's your 30 bids to submit per week. So that should get you exactly to where you need to be, to the point where, let's say, what today is the second week of September. That puts you at 60 bids for the month of September at the end of the fiscal year, when it's pretty much a hot spot to be submitting bids. So if we just apply that 5 to 10% rule, you're looking at 3 to 6 winning bids per month. And I want to clarify that 5 to 10% success rate rule, that's only in the beginning. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where your success rate's 20%, 30%. I bid the least amount that I've ever bid, but I win more than I've ever, like, I'll be honest with you guys now. Like, I realistically probably only submit like 5 to 10 bids a week now, and I win like 3 to 4 of them. I'll be honest, like I barely have to do as much work as I did when I first started, because your success rate is just going to go up so much more. But if we are submitting 30 bids a week, and then we get to that point where we're at that 5 to 10% success rate, it's 60 bids between now and the end of September. That's going to put you at 3 to 6 winning bids. And was if we determine that our price point that we want to be going after was 4 grand a month, we're going to be, worst case scenario, $12,000 in revenue for the month. Best case scenario, $40,000 in revenue for the month. So that puts us exactly to where that puts us right on track to be where we want to be for achieving our 6 month goals. And then you also will get a chance to, snag a piece of the pie towards the end of the year, with the fiscal year coming to an end. Okay. So now let's talk about different events that you can be attending later on. Like going, I'm talking about going into like October, November, December. Okay, Jordan says, how are the profit margins typically? So I'll tell you mine, like I'll be transparent. On new surplus stuff, I'm dealing in the average about like 28% range. That's my margin. That's the average. And that does factor in, like, I have some contracts where my margin's 12%, and then I have some contracts where my margin is like I've tripled my money on some stuff, doubled my money on some stuff. So my number exactly is 28%. I will say in the beginning, I see some people operating with a floor of like 15% is the lowest they'll go. Some people go 10%, I'll be honest. Some people, like Richard only goes to 20%. He's like, listen, if I can't make at least 20% on it, then it's not worth my time. Um, Dorota asked, how long does it take to get paid? So industry average for payment is 28 days, but I'm going to tell you where that number comes from, because you really can get paid super quickly. Like, they can pay you within a week, 2 weeks. Sometimes they pay you within a couple days. The reason why the industry average is 28 days is because of first article tests. First article tests are prototypes. And 28 days from the date that you ship the item to DLA. So as soon as you ship it, before they even receive it, you can invoice them and ask them to pay you. So 28 days from the date that you ship it. However, sometimes, like, we've had instances where we've shipped stuff on a Monday and we've gotten paid on a Thursday. Okay. But the 28-day number comes from FATs, which are first article tests, which are prototypes. And prototypes take a really, really long time to get paid on, because the government has to put it through testing, and then they have to determine whether or not they like it and whether or not it meets all the requirements. And then sometimes they can't meet the requirements, and then they send it back to you, and they will either, one, cancel the order, or two, tell you that they want you to remake the prototype, and then they'll have to retest the prototype. And then once they determine that the prototype is good, then you can send them the remainder of the shipment, and then you get paid. So that's where that 28 days number comes from. If FATs didn't exist, I would probably say that the industry average for payment would be like 12 days, if I had to guess from my experience. But let's talk about what you can do or where you can go to, let's talk about where you can go to kind of network, attend different events, get in like, the right doors, rub shoulders with the right people. So the DLA has TKOs, training knowledge and opportunity seminars. They're free. Some of them are invite only, some of them anybody can attend. I believe Charles in the group posted a link to sign up for the next one. I don't know if it's land and maritime. I don't know if it's aviation. I don't know if it's troop support. I haven't looked at it, but you can go in person and go to a base at DLA, rub shoulders with contracting officers, the people that assess the bids on the other side, rub shoulders with the ESA, which is the engineering support activity, rub shoulders with product specialists, all that good stuff, right? So you get to go to TKOs, which are training, knowledge, and opportunity seminars. The next one is, and this is Eric Coffey's, and I was told I was speaking at this, but I haven't received any word. I don't know. I don't even know the official date. I believe it's in November and it's in Miami at the Fountain Blue. And I'm gonna reach out to Eric about this, but Government Contracting Summit in Miami, great, great, great conference. You guys who freak out about funding, you guys who don't know how, you're gonna fulfill a $50,000 contract, you go to that conference and there's plenty of companies and financial institute, not plenty, like three or four. Um, there's three or four companies that are there and they're literally looking to fund companies bidding on government contracts. And you guys will see the market's super underserved. And I'm going to be honest, with the addition of CMMC and then some of the quality assurance stuff, and then, just rising costs of running a business, like inflation's a bitch. There's less and less, there's less and less government contractors out there. All right. So the market is underserved and it's not, this isn't going to sound nice, but it's really going to be last man standing. Whoever can outlast the other guy, whoever just quite simply wants it enough to be like, I'm going to do this for not just 6 months, but I'm going to do it for a year, 2 years, 3 years. That's how you're going to outlast everybody else. And that's how you're going to get funding, by showing people, hey, I'm willing to stand in the pocket and I'm willing to take punches. So that's one, or that's two. So the DLA TKO, the Miami event, and then number three, Guy Timberlake's end of the year Fiscal Bash. That's a really, really good one. Really, really good one. Like that one, I would say that if it's more expensive, it's the most expensive out of the three to attend, and it's in Maryland. But Guy Timberlake is the guy who taught my dad, and then eventually my dad was like, okay, I can't teach you anything anymore. So then I went to Guy to go learn everything that I know. And he teaches me stuff. Every time I talk to him for 5 minutes at a time on the phone, I learn stuff from Guy. So if you want to get really, really niche, high level knowledge about following the money, determining like low hanging fruit, you go to the Guy Timberlake end of the year Fiscal Bash. It's held by the ASBC, which is his foundation, the American Small Business Coalition. You guys can find him on LinkedIn. His name is Guy Timberlake, aka Go To Guy. Um, he's hosting his end of the year Fiscal Bash, and he's a G. He's a legend. All right. You want to talk about like real people who've been there, done that. Um, it's gonna be Guy Timberlake, bro. He did like almost 30 years in the military, and then he worked like manufacturing drones and stuff like that. He knows all the different platforms for the Navy, right? So if you want to get some super high level stuff, you're gonna want to attend Guy Timberlake's event. Okay. The next thing that you want to do, things are gonna start to slow down in late, like pretty much after Thanksgiving, things start to slow down. You maybe will have like 1 or 2 weeks of making money in December, but then as you start to get to, oh, Deb has posted the link to the Miami event and the DLA training calendar in the group chat, guys. So please go check that out. If you guys want to attend the DLA TKO, it's free. Deb posted the link, and then if you want to get tickets to the Eventbrite thing in Miami, Eric Coffey's Government Contracting Summit, go check that out. But as I was saying, so the first 2 months or I'm sorry, 2 weeks of December, you'll be able to make some money, but after that, forget about it. Like the last two weeks of the year, forget about it. It moves like molasses. People show up, but stuff doesn't really get done. Like I think we had such a drought. I think we won like maybe like 4 awards in like 2 weeks or something like that. And for us, we're a company of like 8 people on the government side, and it's like 14 people in total. So you got 8 people in total, like 5 of them bidding on contracts, and you're telling me only 4 awards came in. That's really slow. So what you want to do with that time is you want to go watch my video on how to build vendor relationships. So the 5 best tips to develop vendor relationships. People ask me about that. They're like, "Hey, do you have a video on that? How to get through to vendors?" I made a video about that. And then you want to watch the 4 best questions to ask contracting officers, which should be in the Skool community. That the latter, the second one is in the Skool community. The other one, the 5 best vendor relationships, I'm gonna have Danny put that in the Skool community. And then you're also gonna want to go to my website, the Namyad website, and we have a free PDF on there. And it's about the 4 best questions to ask contracting officers. So if you notice, this is all relationship building stuff. Okay. People are dumb, fat, and happy for the last 2 weeks of the year. So they love to get on the phone, they love to shoot the shit. That is where I'm not gonna say I've closed some of my biggest deals, but it's where I've developed some of like my strongest relationships because I get to shoot the shit with people about Thanksgiving football, and I get to shoot the shit with people about, what just happened in or no, the FedEx Cup is in September. There's a big golf tournament towards the end of the year. I'm forgetting what it is, but and I get to talk about tennis, I get to talk about golf, I get to talk about football. People have kids who have end of the year dance recitals, kids who have, playoff football games. This is when you get to build relationships, right? Remember, guys, contracting officers do business with the people that they know, like, trust, and remember. So, how do you get somebody to know you, like you, trust you, and remember you? Talk to them about the shit outside of business. There's a million and one companies that pick up the phone with a sense of entitlement, calling all these contractors, and they're just talking about exactly that, government contracting, and it gets redundant, it gets monotonous, it gets boring, and on the other side of this, these people are human beings as well. Her question was, how do you get contracting officers to answer your emails or call you back? The art of the follow-up. The art of the follow-up. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a badger. I leave my ego at the door when I sit down in front of my desk or when I walk into the office. I've called somebody as much as 7 times to win a contract. You guys know what to do. You just maybe sometimes you guys want like a secret formula, like the Krabby Patty secret formula or a magic pill like Inception that's gonna unlock your brain power. You know what to do. It's just not sexy, it's not enjoyable, but you're just gonna have to follow up like a badger. I literally badger people and I'm just annoying. I send emails every other day and I make phone calls literally every single day. And then sometimes people pick up the phone like, wow, I didn't even know you submitted a bid on this. I was looking to get this awarded months ago and I didn't know anybody submitted this. So, if you guys leave this call with nothing, it's going to be 8 p.m. If you guys leave this call with nothing and you can only do a couple things before you go to bed, set your financial and bidding goals. Determine how much money do you want to make and how much time are you willing to allocate. 4 hours a day and you want to make $50,000 in the next 6 months. Easy. Boom. Go pick 20 FSC codes on fsccodelookup.com. You guys have seen me use that website on YouTube. You've seen me use it in boot camp. You guys have seen me use it on here. fsccodelookup.com. Pick 20 FSC codes, 20 different product markets. And then tomorrow, I mean, I'm not a tomorrow guy. I would get started today, but I would start submitting my quotes. Maybe even request quotes for like 15 different solicitations today. And then your week will be from Wednesday to Wednesday, and that's your 15 a day. And then you want to be submitting your 30 bids a week. I don't care when you submit them. Ideally, the earlier the better because the month is almost halfway over, but ideally the earlier the better. So yeah, those are 4 immediate actions that you guys can take to win. And then we did talk about different networking events and stuff like that that you guys can do to like develop your relationships. But you guys were here for that in the beginning. So yeah, that is my spiel for today. The DLA solicitations are all on Sam's. No. You can still go look at DLA solicitations even if your account is locked. You just can't submit bids, but the DLA solicitations are all on DIBS, the DLA Internet Bid Board System. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, sweet. If nobody has any other questions, comments, or concerns, I'm gonna go take my ass and sit on the treadmill and go run a couple miles and then go to the gym and then go to bed. So if nobody has any other questions, per usual, um oh, Marlon said regarding Nia's question about calling contracting officers regarding RFQs, do we call them? Yeah, so you should call them. You can email them and call them. Somebody, I believe it was Saritha, and she was like, "How do I get people to respond to our calls?" It's not the sexy answer, but it's the answer that works. I'm just a badger. I literally will just email and follow up with people. I've literally called somebody 7 times to win a contract. And a lot of times they're overworked, underpaid, and they just have a lot of shit on their desk. So they will be looking for what it is that you're offering and just not even know that you bid on it. So I haven't found a better method than following up. Yeah. Oh, Nia actually needs Skool access. I'm gonna fix that. I'm gonna do that right now. But yeah, for everybody else, that's it. That's all I have on the agenda for you guys.
So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys, and if you've watched till the end, then that only tells me one thing. You are sick and tired of being sick and tired. If you want to stop banging your head against the wall and generate fast, meaningful, and guaranteed results, then you know you need to click the link down below and book a call with our team, who is unequivocally the best in the world at what we do. Here at the Nomiad family, we have over 30 hours of value-packed content, and all of the documents that we use to scale Two Lions Aerospace from $0 to $50 million in revenue this year are provided to you. Click the link, get on the calendar, book a call, speak with the team. Money loves speed.